Hey guys, so you heard me speak about the 10 things that I like about living in the mountain. So today we're going to discuss the 10 things that I dislike about living in the mountains of Ghana. Stay tuned to find out on the Eric McNeil Be Free Show.
Black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. You've discovered the Eric McNeil Be Free Show, where I show you how to be financially independent, responsible for self, enjoying life, and empowering others. Free. So today, I want to discuss the top 10 things that I really dislike about living in the mountains of Ghana. And you know that I love living in the mountains, but not everything is hunky-dory when you're staying in the mountain. There are some things that you will dislike, so don't think everything is perfect when you live in the mountains. So let's discuss those things right off the bat. I have an audience today, and that's the little dog that recently moved here with a couple of the workers. So the dog is finally getting used to me. I believe his name is a kitty. So it's a dog, even though we're calling it a kitty. So I don't know what that means. I have to ask him what that means. A kitty. Hey, a kitty, come. Used to be when I did that, he would run. So now at least he's no longer running away from me. But anyway, so let's talk about the top 10 things. So number 10 is that the thing that I love about being out here, which is the nature, can also be a nuisance. So the nature doesn't respect your sleep, and it doesn't respect when you're trying to record or you need some quiet time. So you hear sounds all night, so you have to get used to that. Like that was probably a few months it went by where we were just hearing this late at night when we're trying to sleep, and I was like, my God, it sounds like it's like right outside the door, and as soon as I open the door, boom, it just stopped. It's quiet. And so that went on at least a couple months before I had to try and just camp out here and try and catch it. And I finally discovered there's a little area near the veranda, where a little concrete area where they made to mix the concrete, and when it rained it was puddling up, and so the frogs were laying eggs over there, and so the noise, long story short, was frogs making that was a mating call, and I forgot what frog they called it, but man, so we had to remove the water out of there when it rains, or else the frogs start congregating over there and making families. So anyway, when we finally figured that out and removed that, probably within a week's time, there was another noise. And this one, I'm pretty sure is a bird, but it seems as soon as you lay your head down, there's this very late at night. It's like, what in the world? And it just comes by, you just hear it approaching. Like some dinosaur bird. But so that's what we deal with now. So you just have to get used to some of those noises. Like, you can't go out there and tell the bird, hey, don't make that noise. You know, that's not an option. So some of the noises in nature you just have to get used to. So that's one of the things that I dislike. That's number 10. I hear the little doggy is barking. What's wrong? Hey, Kitty, what's wrong? Okay, so let's go to number 9. So I like being away from the road, the distance, but the distance can also be problematic, right, when you're trying to have things delivered and that nature. So the distance from the road can be a nuisance, and that's one of the things that I dislike when you're trying to get things done is, when you're trying to get things delivered up here, it's the distance from the road because it can be problematic. It's a minor thing, but yeah, that's an issue. And speaking of the road, the number 8 is the road being rocky, right? We're on a mountain, so you have about a foot of dirt and soil, and then after that it's just rock. And that's a problem when you're trying to dig the ground, something like right now. The builder, Migrating Culture, which is Brandon's company that built a house, he's the one, his company is doing the wall around the place for the new owners, and they had to dig these footings all the way around the property. So it's 5 acres they had to dig around for the wall, and they're digging right through rock. And so I felt sorry for the workers. I asked a couple of them, man, how's it going? It's like, oh, it's the hardest work because they're digging through rock, pure rock. So yeah, so everything requires more time and effort here, and uncertainty here because of this rock. And even when you're planting a garden, trying to plant a garden or something, and in some areas, especially on some of the lands around here, mine is relatively good, but in some areas it's nothing but rock. You can't really grow anything in some of those areas. So you are on a mountain, and because of the rock, my car kept getting messed up. It just I kept having to get it repaired. I had this Nissan Juke, and it's a 4-wheel drive. It was a 4-wheel drive, and it's strong, so it could get up the mountain. A lot of the cars can't even get up the mountain. You go and like try and catch a taxi up here, they can't even make it. They get to the bottom of the mountain, they can't even make it up because the car's not strong enough. But mine could come right up, but because of the rocky road, I kept having to get, like, I guess the lower arm bushings repaired, and I got them repaired a couple of times. The mechanic was like, this is weird. Like, when I repair this, I usually don't see the person for years before you have to do this again. He was like, what are you doing? Where are you driving? So I told him I live in the mountains. He was like, that explains, like, you need a truck. It's like, you're going to keep having this problem with those lower arm bushings. And it had got to a point where I just had to learn how to repair the lower arm bushings myself. And I went to YouTube and Google University and learned how to repair the lower arm bushings. And I just started repairing them myself because it was just a reoccurring problem I had. And then I just decided, man, I just need to sell the car before it's just ruined. So I just went on and sold it just maybe a couple months ago, and said that if I stay up here, I just need to get a truck. But yeah, the road it's a rock. So that's what you're dealing with. If you're gonna be up here, you really need a truck. Let's see. So the next one is number 7. Is the strong winds. Like the last video I talked about loving the breeze. I like the breeze, but it doesn't stop there. You have some very strong winds that come through, and sometimes, and mostly at night, they sound like a freight train coming through. It's not a tornado or a hurricane like you might be familiar with, especially where I'm from in the South United States, the southern area. Like we're familiar with, tornadoes and hurricanes swooping through, but this is just a strong wind. And if you don't put like we have these banana plants, and the banana trees and the plantain trees up, and if you don't put sticks to brace them and a strong wind comes through, then it just blows them down. So all your work is in vain. You come outside and all your trees are leaning down like this, broken or something. So you have to prepare for these strong winds coming through. They just come through and just kind of take everything. So yeah, I like the breeze, but the strong winds I can do without. Number 6 is not so bad now. Number 6 is like the snakes and the scorpions. When we first moved here, man, let me tell you, snakes be laying at you and scorpions like, hey, we were here first. So now that we've cleared the bushes and the trees, and they know that we're here, you rarely see them, but it used to be, you could leave your door open, and you leave your door open for 10 minutes and 15 minutes, and you come back, boy, and you see a snake crawling in your house. Yeah, so you have to take all that into consideration when you're moving in the bush, that you're going to have snakes, you're going to have scorpions, you're going to have things like that. And until, you can clear some of this bush away from your house, and they start sensing your presence, then initially it's a problem, but now it's not a problem anymore. I believe so far this year, I haven't seen any snakes this year at all, and we're almost 3/4 of the way through the year, and I haven't seen one snake. I believe I've seen one scorpion, a small scorpion, and that's been it. But yeah, so that's a problem, initially when you move here, but it's not really a problem now. So that's number 6. Let's go to number 5. Number 5 is the poor internet access. Like, we're way out beside the city. And so the internet access, it's getting better. I use 2 primary carriers now. I mean, I have all of them, and I've used all of them. But now I found that 2 of them are giving me pretty reliable access, but that can be a problem. Like out here where I am, I guess the biggest carrier in Ghana might be MTN, but MTN service doesn't work very well out here. And then we have another carrier, which is Vodafone. Vodafone out here is kind of iffy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And then the one that I use primarily is called Glo. Glo is actually a Nigerian company, but the thing about Glo is that it just seems to work when it wants to work. But the thing is that it's like much cheaper than the other guys. Like the other guys are over twice as expensive as Glo. So if you need a lot of data, which I go through a lot of data, then hey, you'd use Glo. But the thing is, especially out here, Glo seems to work at night. Late at night it seems to, it'd be fine. And so, if I'm downloading large amounts of, things, then, I'm able to use the Glo. But if I need the certainty, then the one that I primarily use out here is Airtel. Airtel seems to work flawlessly out here in this area. But it just depends on the area and where the towers are, so, people a lot of times ask the question, well, which carrier should I use? And it just depends on where you are. You have to test for the area that you're in, because a lot of times, like I say, it depends on where the towers are. And it can change, if something changes with that tower, or, it could get better or worse. So, but for me, I tend to see that Airtel works the best here, and then for my everyday, I need a lot of data, it's Glo, and that seems to work for me. So, at any rate, that's number 5 is the poor internet access that you can experience out here. Number 4 is the grasses. Man, these grasses grow like, during the rainy season, you come out and grass been growing almost a foot. You be like, whoa, we just weeded. Where did all this grass come from? So the grass, it grows now. So you almost have to have like cattle when you're out here. We used to have the cattle herdsmen, they used to walk their cows through here, and the cows used to help with grazing the grass. And they moved because they said somebody was stealing the cattle around there, so they moved further out, and we don't really see them anymore. But I'd suggest that if you're gonna stay here and you have like acreage and acreage, then you have to have animals. At one time we had goats, but the thing about the grass is that the goats eat a certain type of grass. So the grasses that we had growing here was not the grasses that the goats eat, and that grass, was being grown like almost down the mountain. So we had to start growing that grass up here. So the cows eat this grass, but you can't let it get too high because then it gets too hard for the cow. So it has to be kind of short and fresh growth. So that's one thing about here. You have to get used to these grasses growing so quickly out of hand. It's elephant grass. So it grows quickly. Number 3, speaking of the grasses, because you have these grasses growing like this, so number 3 are the fires. And I'll show you some video footage of what I mean, but when the fires come, man, if it's your first experience, man, it can be unnerving. I mean, you have like miles of fire going down the mountain, and they coming towards your house. And you're like, man, the first time I saw that, I was freaking out. And the builders were here then, and they were still working on the house. And so I was like, man, you guys see these fires? Like, yeah, and they just went on back to sleep. So, but what I've learned is that as long as you, like, when the fires come, you don't try and fight the fire here. You don't do that. What you do is you prepare because you know the fire is coming at least once a year, and it could be more than once a year. So you keep the trees away from the house. You cut the trees down near the house, and you keep the grasses weeded so that the fires don't come too close to the house, because if you have weeds and bush around the house, then the fires are going to come regardless. So you have to prepare for that, the fires coming. So anyway, so each year the fires come, and when I first showed it to the new owners, I sent them some footage when the fires were coming, and they were like freaking out, boy. It was like, "Are you sure you don't need some help out there?" And I was like, "Nah, I'm used to it now." It was like, man, that fire's getting very close to the house, and it did. It came like right up to the potty tank. You know where, pretty much where it's gonna come based on where the weeds stop. So it's not a big deal anymore. You just prepare for it, but it's gonna come. So number 2, it's just that the expense of being on the mountain is much more expensive than building on flat land. And people often ask, well, why is the homes, why is it so expensive? Because the labor rate, everything costs more when you have it sent up a mountain. As an example, when we first moved here and they were building, well, actually before we moved here, and on the day that they were supposed to deliver the roof, the day before, the rains washed the road away, and you had nothing but a gutter. It was already washing away, but we had a heavy rain, and it left the roads like a gutter. So the truck that was bringing the roofing sheets up here could not make it. So what the builders had to do is they had to unload the truck, the roofing sheets off the truck, and they had to go to the nearby village and hire people to actually manually walk the roofing sheets up. And so that type of expense you don't plan for, and if you don't have enough money, and you have a few of these expenses come up, then you'll be broke very quickly. So there's a lot of uncertainty when you're building uh, on a mountain. Let me tell you. So yeah, like I said, we had to walk those roofing sheets up, and that's about a mile from where they had to start coming up. It was almost at the junction. So they had to walk those roofing sheets up one by one, like a mile, and that's coming up the mountain. So the expense of just trying to build on a mountain is just crazy. So that's why you see a mountain property, yeah, it's going to be expensive because everything, the labor rate is more expensive. So but the number one thing that I dislike about being up here is going to be by far the biting midgets. And in the U.S., we call them no-see-thems or no-see-ems, and they call them punkies because they're so small you really can't see them, but they're like these very, very tiny biting flies, and during the rainy season they just swarm around you, and the females bite, just like mosquitoes. The females will bite for the the protein in your blood. So, and the thing that's different from, like right now, the mosquitoes aren't bothering me, but these little biting midges are all around, and it seems that the repellents work much better on the mosquitoes than they do these little biting midges, but they can get terrible. And this is why you also have to keep the trees and the bushes away from your home. And I know, you come out here and the nature is beautiful, and you say, man, I don't want to disturb any of this stuff, but you better disturb it, because if not, it's going to disturb you. So you have to get this stuff away from your home. There has to be a balance. This is like, for all intents and purposes, this is a rainforest. And there's some beautiful stuff out here, but it's going to be some dangerous stuff when you first move in here. So you have to try and make it to be this oasis that you want it to be. So you get rid of the bushes, you get rid of trees around you, and you start planting things that help keep the mosquitoes away and the midges away. So different types of plants like the lemongrass and things like that. You have to carefully plan that stuff, and that could be years doing that. It's not going to happen overnight. So, but it can be done, so you just don't want to cut all of it away that until you left with just nothing but, and you just go and pour concrete and asphalt everywhere, so you don't have any forest anymore. You don't want to do that, but you do need to create a balance so that you don't have these things, the wildlife, taking you away back here. So anyway, those are the top 10 things that I dislike about living on the mountains, but the good outweighs the bad by far. So a lot of the things that I dislike, you can change those things over time. They'll get better, and you can adjust. So it's not that bad, but it's not that everything is fantastic in the mountains. You do have your problems, and I just want to make you aware of that. At any rate, if you enjoy and like what you hear, please share it with your friends. And again, subscribe, hit the like button, comment, and let me hear from you. And in the future, we'll start talking about acquiring land here in Ghana and actually building that house that you're trying to get built and how to do it economically. We'll start going into that so that you have a good idea of how not to get taken here in Ghana. All right, so again, it's been good, and I'll see you on the next show.